So now that you have your subject photo taken care of, you can now think about incorporating a landscape photo. And I like to work from a few just to see what I like best. So I've got a few landscape photos here already in Photoshop. I think maybe I'll start with the tree one. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to select the entire photo, copy this photo, and then you can paste it in, and this will paste in as a new layer. So you can either use a selection tool to select your photo, or if you hit Control A, with the Mac it's Command A, that will, as you notice, that will automatically select the whole thing, and then you'll just hit Control C or Command C, once again with Macs, and then you can go to your subject photo and you can paste it in by hitting Control or Command V. So I've got my photo loaded in here now. And then what I can do is, notice this is called layer 1. I think I'll rename it so that I know exactly what it is. I'll call it Aspens. If you highlight this background or this landscape layer, and if you mess with the opacity, which is down here, you just click on that little down arrow and you can change the opacity, and you can make it really transparent or not. So you can kind of see the subject back there now. If you change up the opacity, then you can actually move it around and reposition it a little bit better to what you want it to be. And this is where it kind of just gets tricky. A lot of times it's best to just resize your pictures based on what you want. You can resize either the background or the subject picture, whichever one you want. I think I might resize my subject picture. So to resize, a really easy way to do that is hitting Control T or Command T. And then you're going to want to resize and hit Shift. So I might make this a little bit bigger. And then when you're done, if you want to do anything else, if you like what you did, you hit Enter. You can kind of drag it around to where you want it to be. Let's see if I like that right there. So I've just made my picture bigger. I repositioned it. Now what we need to do is we need to get rid of this area so that the trees are only kind of taking up space where the subject is. And to do that, you're going to want to highlight this white part, and that can easily be done with the Magic Wand tool. And then if you click back on your landscape picture, you can just hit Delete. So notice that got rid of all of that extra stuff that wasn't around your subject. So now you're left with this image that you can, once again, you can play around with. You can change up the opacity. You can make it black and white. Or you could always just pull in a different landscape layer and mess with that a little bit. So I think I'll play with a few of these and see how they work. So this is what I have. I either have the lake picture, which looks like this, or I could use the mountain picture or the trees picture. I think I might go with the trees. So at this point, you'll probably just want to save your file again so that you have access to all of these different layers. So I'm just going to go to File and Save As. I'm going to want to make sure it's a PSD or a Photoshop file, and then I'll just click Save. and then I'll click OK. And so once it's saved, you can exit out and you'll still be able to access all these different layers, even if they are invisible. So that's really important to do. Okay, so I have my picture. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So this is what I ended up with. And I can either keep this. I think I'll probably get rid of this bottom part that doesn't have anything in it. So I will probably just crop it. Oh, I've got the selections in there. So this is what I have left. And once again, I can select the Aspens layer. I can change the opacity. If I make it not translucent at all, then it's kind of a little boring and weird. But you can do that if you want, if you like the effects that has. What I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to make these black and white. So I'll make that invisible, and then I'll make this black and white. And then I think I'll make the Aspens black and white as well. But once again, you can mess around with the colors. You don't have to make it black and white. You can leave it how it is. And I think I'll change up the opacity a little bit more. So at this point, it's translucent enough so that I can see the subject picture a little bit, but there's still, you can still see those trees and stuff in the background. So I think I'll leave it at that. If you want though, a lot of people, they like to select out different areas. It looks kind of interesting in the end. But basically you'll play with it. You'll play with the colors, you'll play with the exposure, and you'll find something that you like. And you can always go back to and reposition things, change things up if you don't like the way they're looking. Once you think you're finished though, you're going to need to flatten this and turn it in as a JPEG. So you will go to Layer, Flatten Image, and I had some hidden layers that I'll just get rid of. So now this is all one image. There's no layers or anything. I can go to File, Save As, and instead of saving it as a PSD, I will save it as a JPEG, JPEG. I'll hit save, and then you'll just turn in that file. So here's what my completed finished picture looks like. Just keep in mind that I deleted the backgrounds before I changed the colors and the exposure of my pictures. And if you would like, you can do that first, and then you can kind of reposition and delete the backgrounds and stuff like that. So there's really, there's a few key things that you need to do to create these double exposure pictures, but you can go in any process or at your own pace. And once again, it's good to just experiment with different things. So if you notice, there's a few different ways you can do this. You can do this with a picture of a person and a landscape picture, or you can do it with two pictures of a person and you could have a double exposure of just two different people. This picture was done in an interesting way. Notice that half of the face is really only present, and that half of the face isn't very transparent. So you can change things up quite a bit with this assignment. You can erase areas out. You can make certain areas transparent and other areas opaque. so that you get different effects.